Hey y'all, it's Rick with Responder Support Services. The video I'm doing today is one I've been thinking about doing for a while, and after hearing some things in the community, I decided I have to do this one now. An important piece of equipment to get through a prolonged incident or even a career in public safety is the human mind. And just like any tool of the trade, the mind's going to need maintenance from time to time, and the right clinician can provide that maintenance. However, during times like this, individuals will show up to try to take advantage of the situation for personal gain, even clinicians. And a lot of our clinicians out there are working very little or not at all. And they're telling me they're seeing first responders as an opportunity for themselves. And my thought is, if they were interested in helping before, why are they waiting till now? Just because a clinician has a license and a desire to help doesn't mean they're appropriate to do so. When it comes to some of the depressive disorders or anxiety disorders, especially PTSD, choosing the wrong clinician can actually make those conditions worse. So how do you choose? You choose by first understanding how not to choose. And some things that responders have told me they've done to choose a clinician stand out. One is Google search. Just because a name shows up at the top of the Google search doesn't mean they're the right clinician. Another is seeing a flyer somewhere. Because a clinician invests a lot of dough in a flyer doesn't mean that he or she is a good clinician or appropriate to work with first responders. Now here's my favorite. Choosing a clinician because the clinician was attractive or good looking. Would you choose a physician to treat a medical condition simply because that physician was good looking? Or would you want that physician to be appropriately skilled for the job? All right, so how do you choose? A good step one is to check with your agency to see if they have vetted clinicians in your area or even have embedded clinicians. In Buncombe County, Henderson County, and Asheville City, you guys are good. You've got clinicians that are embedded with those agencies in those counties, so ask your command staff how to connect with them. If you're with a smaller county or volunteer agency, you've got some homework to do. Start by calling a clinician and asking if that clinician is familiar with the first responder culture. The American Counseling Association and the American Psychological Association both strongly recommend that clinicians be familiar with the cultures they're trying to work with. That's called cultural competence. Even ask them how many first responders are on their caseloads currently. Don't allow them to learn about the culture or explore it through you. After asking about culture, make sure the clinician uses evidence-based treatments. That's an important term and one I want you to use. Evidence-based treatments means the treatments they're delivering have been explored through rigorous scientific research and proven to help most people. No talk therapies or how does that make you feel treatments. And ask what evidence-based treatments they're using for anxiety and depressive disorders. And look for the clinician to say they use some form of cognitive behavioral therapy. For PTSD, look for the clinicians to say they use prolonged exposure therapy, the gold standard, cognitive processing therapy, or something called EMDR. If they say they use an eclectic approach, run fast and run far. We don't want that. And even if they answer correctly, there's still more homework you got to do. Ask where they got that training. A lot of times a clinician will take a 1 or 2 day training in a treatment and then say they do that treatment now. And the Academy of Cognitive Therapy is very clear. Their recommendation, and actually their requirement, is a 9-month intensive training program to be considered competent in that training. A 1 or 2 day workshop does not cut it. After starting therapy with someone, you're not obligated to be there because you've started treatment. If you don't feel it's a good match, you can change clinicians. And here's some signs that it may be a bad match and some things that I've heard actually happening. If a clinician reacts emotionally to talking with a first responder, for example, they start crying, probably not a good match. If the clinician starts suggesting about career change, it may not be a good match. If at all it never feels quite right, you have the right to switch clinicians. If you're still struggling to find a clinician and you want some assistance, give us a call. We'd be happy to help you find a clinician in your area. And just reach out at 828-333-5708.